Ladies and gentlemen, this video may be weird because I'm talking about the plague and I've been in a good mood for like 4 days. I think it's due to the two sunspots that are on the sun, but I couldn't tell you definitively. Now, I'd like to recap and tell you that since January 30th, I've been telling everyone that this plague would be bad and that we would be in lockdown by the middle of March. And so, as far as I know, there was nobody else on the planet January 30th saying, hey, we're going to be in lockdown in the middle of March. And it happened. Okay. And so I have been very accurate on this. And I know I have had people in Texas. I've had firemen, sheriffs, multiple doctors, nurses say thank you to me. So I appreciate that because I want everybody to play maximum defense. And it's weird that we in the United States, the Wall Street has divided us by the Democrats and the Republicans, and that both like to sit in their camps no matter what happens. And it's in my opinion that, the Democrats really screwed the pooch with impeachment and the Kavanaugh trials, and then the Republicans screwed the pooch with the plague. Now, Trump is one of the greatest promoters and self-promoters that the United States has ever seen, and that he understands the economy, and the way he thinks is that as long as the economy is doing good, everybody's doing good. And so his ultimate focus has been on the economy, and up until the plague, he had driven it to record levels. And so, it's best to understand people and their motivations. But as I've been saying the whole time, his weakness is natural disasters or just disasters of any form. He displayed that during Hurricane Maria and then during the California fires. And he has, in my opinion, struggled a bit with the plague. And there was a clip of him where he was kind of tired and he goes, I love everybody. And in that moment, it humanized him for me because I think I can kind of see it, that they had a strategy for how to win, and he had got Space Force, and the economy was at record levels, and then everybody got blindsided by the plague. Well, technically, me and Leo King didn't, and like Susan didn't, and and Lennon, there were people out there who knew that something was coming in the beginning of 2020. And so, but he got blindsided, and, technically everybody did. And then it's weird to watch the truth community has totally detached from Trump himself, where there was a press conference like a week and a half ago where he said, I talked to my friend on the phone, and my friend said, I have the COVID. It is very bad. And then 4 days later, his friend died. And I believe he was saying here, he's lost 4 of his good friends to COVID, and it's a bad death. And so this thing is worse than the flu. I know that I have been super protective of my mom, my family, my friends, the Texas Angel, and that I have done what I can to get everybody to take this seriously. And something I know from that seems accurate from the data is that if you're wearing a mask and the other person's wearing a mask and you go into a store, you have a 1.5% chance of contracting the virus. And so New York has been hit hard. The upper Northeast has been hit hard. And I think a large factor in that is, yes, population density. B, those giant buildings with the elevators. I think elevators are like death traps. The subway has shown, and places with a lot more open space have done better. And I think cloud cover is a big deal. I think the sunlight, temperature, there are a lot of factors in this thing. But today is the first day that New Jersey has overtaken New York. Now, I remind you, I'm in Texas. And so if we go to deaths per 1 million population, Texas we only have 25 per million people. And then I know that Like Colorado, it has 128 per million people. And so a lot of, like I said, some areas are getting hit harder and some areas didn't get hit as hard. And so like Texas is going to be able to open sooner than most people and probably bounce back faster. I think Texas real estate is going to be popular, Arizona real estate as well. And as your planetary defense commander, Star-Lord New Thor 7, the T, you can call me T Eric if you want. It has been my job to ignore politics completely and just try and get people to get along as the grand transition happens and we transfer from an oil and war and deception and divide and conquer economy to a economy of shared abundance. Because it is clear to anyone that is paying attention that the ways we have been having communism, socialism, and capitalism unregulated are totally unsustainable. And I spent like 3 or 4 years before 2020 talking about that exact thing, that the world was going to totally change. And Americans always do the right thing after they've exhausted all other options. And so we have a lot of people dying. I know there's still big fights out there between Republicans and Democrats, and but this is a real deal, and that no matter how you paint it, we are having more Americans die from this plague than since pretty much the last plague 100 years ago. And remember, there were plagues 100 years ago. There were plagues in the 1600s. There were plagues in the 1300s where millions of people died. So it's, the new age is where you blame everything on some modern conspiracy where it's like Fauci's fault, or it's Bill Gates's fault, or it's Hillary Clinton's fault, or it's Trump's fault. And no, dude, the history is a big expanse of things. And so plague's always been on the table. And now we got to step up and figure out how to adapt to a changing world. And the plague is just one of many problems. I started Asteroid Fight Club because I was worried about economic collapse. And, Nostradamus said that pretty much all the gold and silver turns to like paper and burns, something like that. And so I have been trying to get us to a place of like 1,000 years of peace where people work together. And technically, like 0.001% of the people on the planet have like 90% of all the money. And so, as I've been saying for a long time, that if you gave people the basics, which is clothes, man, whenever my iPhone pops in, Siri pops in, say, it always creeps me out a little. I love you though, Siri. And you too, Alexa. And Taylor and Selena. Life's complicated, but I like to like people and artificial intelligence. What's it talking about? But yeah, so you provide people with the basics: food, electricity, a place to live, and healthcare. And then, then you can basically, it's kind of like, and then after that, you could split up everything else the same old ways or new ways. I don't know. I'm just saying it's best to give people the basics. And if we don't figure out a way to treat every human being like a human being instead of like some liability, asset, debt, or credit, then, we're in deep shit, because we've still got World War III hanging on the table. Like, I believe Trump was talking today about reparations from China for causing this thing. And, it would be almost like, let's say a secret agent from Hydra, who at the time was working for an American corporation, went into China to steal the virus. A gunfight broke out. The virus broke out. The vial hit the ground, just like a movie. And that's how the virus got out. Then to have our government sue China for reparations. And remember, our government got 12 briefings up until the first person died talking about how bad this would be. And they both sides decided to do nothing and then trade stocks. What was it talking about? Anyway, so the whole point is that opening of the United States is going to be, it's a tricky process, and it's best if everybody works together, and the election is freaking 6-7 months away. And so we have a whole world we got to fix and change. But I'm trying to tell you, the virus is bad. The virus is real, and we're now at like 33 9/11s. Wait, maybe it's just like 20 9/11s in 2020. And for whatever reason, New York always gets hit really hard. But we're looking at some pretty big totals, and the astrology says we're going to botch the reopening. And then lockdowns are probably going to come worse than before in the fall. And then other people guesstimate we're going to have open and closed lockdowns. But I want to say, that whether there are a lot of people in New York who have lost thousands, tens of thousands of friends, families, grandfathers, grandmothers, dads, moms. Like, New York has lost a ton of people. New Jersey's lost a ton of people too. And everyone in New York knows someone who's died. And so we have had 60,000 deaths in a 5-week period and no funerals where people can grieve in the normal ways they're used to. And so it's like we have like a powder keg building, and then you still have like the same people from like the states that are doing better, like screaming at everybody that this is a hoax or it was all some, like planned event by Agenda 2030, the Illuminati, and Fauci and Gates. Like, I don't know, we got to work together. Another thing, at some point, the technocrats, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, Google, they have like 80% of all the power now. And so and everyone's always like, they're all super evil. Well, if all the technocrats are the super evil, then we're totally fucked. It's what's weird in my position. Everyone's always like, everybody's evil. Everybody's evil, except for me and the people who vote for my politician. And so it's frustrating at times for me. But I guess the whole point of this is that, like, it's very complex. There's a lot of things that are going on. Yes, the economy has been hit hard. Yeah, we've had like over 22 million people lose their jobs in the last 5 weeks. So you've had 60,000 people die. 22 million people lose their jobs. And Americans have no idea really how to communicate or to work together as a team and even have a unified message on simple things like this is a plague. And it's just so callous for me. I'm 48, so I was there for 9/11, and I saw how Americans at the time, they banded together, both sides, but then they took that goodwill of the American people and invaded Iraq, even though Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. And so that's what I've learned. Like, no matter who the politician is, at some point in time, they're going to work with Congress to screw the pooch. I mean, this gets me back to, shit, I can't believe I forgot it. It was when 1999, when the Republicans and Bill Clinton removed Glass-Steagall, where investment banks could not merge with savings and loan banks. They got rid of that, and then we were under Wall Street rule for a while, and now we're under the technocrat rule for a while. And people are still acting like it's 2019. But I'm just saying that this plague is going to be still an issue. And I don't want to get it. I don't want this virus. I think I may have had it back in October, and I'm just now feeling good. I don't want anyone in my family. I don't want my friends. I don't even want my enemies, although I have no enemies. Tell my enemies I have no enemies. I wouldn't wish the virus on anyone. It's real. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And so, but there's still a lot of let me get back to this story. Yeah, so one of the leaders of the protests in North Carolina has tested positive for COVID. And part of me thinks that Wall Street is pushing both sides. They help control the narrative for both sides. So they're trying to convince people to make some dumb decisions. And I don't know, maybe the person was just protesting the virus itself. Although protests are stupid, in my opinion. I was saying, these are crazy times, and I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I don't believe in politicians, dude. They're not. Some state, our governor may be okay, but I'm a Texan, so that's different. But I'm just saying, like, the national politicians, they're there to get elected and get more powerful, and then if good things happen, I guess that's great. But bad things have been happening, so it's time to turn the ship around. I'm so sick of politics, and I'm so sick of the plague, and So we're at the end of April. Texas is going to slowly start to open up, but it's like I said, there are dumb people in this world. And so dumb people are going to continue to act dumb, but it would just be great if more people would be smart. If you go into a store, wear a mask. And so if you are in an enclosed area and you're wearing a mask and somebody else isn't wearing a mask, your chances of getting the virus are very low. And then when you're outside, you can take your mask off. In the fresh air, and definitely get more fresh air. And we're connecting with nature. Nature's healing. Anywho, this is me talking straight off the cuff about plague and politics. I know it's going to trigger some people, but we all have our own opinions, and this is mine. You can take my advice or leave it. But I know that a lot of people in Texas and around seem to appreciate all the information I've given out on this since the start. And so, in a non-political realm, being correct and playing defense for everyone wins you some points. In a political realm, it only loses you some points. It's like the truther community, usually like all they're there is to blame people, to tell you who to fear, to tell you who to blame. And and they're pretty much unified in their, this is who we'll blame, this is who we'll be mad at. Like, literally, it's like the core energy of the truther community is fear and anger and blame. That's why I am in the truth tribe. Not truther, truth. I do what I can to bring you guys the truth. All right? Yeah, and at times it seems like Elon Musk is a total douchebag. Just a douchebag again and again and again. But, if I can refine common ground with Selena and Taylor, maybe there's hope for Elon. I don't know, though, man. I don't know. All right. Everybody stay cool. God bless everyone.